Alright guys, welcome to the Johnny B Trademark Gaming channel on YouTube. And this is gonna be hopefully a nice video for you guys. Hopefully it helps you out. And we're gonna actually head straight into it. This is basically a tutorial video about using Snip in OBS to get your music handles. For instance, in this case I'm using Spotify mostly. To get your song and artist information into your stream in an overlay into OBS through Twitch or, for instance, YouTube. So let's go straight into it. Mostly, I use Spotify, the app itself, where I can, have a playlist. And for instance, this one here, where I press play and it actually puts the artist and song information in an overlay into OBS through our Twitch, where I'm streaming on mostly. What I noticed with the Snip version of 6.9.5, it stopped working. Why? I'm not sure, but apparently it stopped working. So I did some digging, and I came across the GitHub website, and I came on this website here, github.com. The all Rudy Snip releases. So I see here they actually released like 2 additional versions of Snip. The version 6.10.0 actually works quite nicely. And it's about, well, not a day ago they released this one here, the 6.10.1. So I actually installed this one, and I gave it a try, and I must say it works quite nicely again. Although this version requires administration access to start up the program, so I can show you guys over here. Let me change the screenery. Alright, so here we go. This is the my main monitor. So here we go. Snip is actually working right now. No track is playing. That's correct. This is basically the setup you want to have. I'm using Spotify. Here you go. This is the Snip version 6.10.1. This is probably the setup you would like to have to get the Snip working correctly. So save album artwork. In this case, to get the image from the artist and the song that's playing in Spotify. You can set this to whatever you like. I like to use the small because it doesn't take that much of space up in your hard drive. Cache Spotify metadata. That's if you turn this off, it will work, but then again, it will not refresh that nicely in OBS, so I suggest leaving this on. Save track history, that's not really needed unless you like to make some sort of playlist, like export it somewhere else. Display track pop-up, this is mainly only for notification in Windows. It actually doesn't work, so I turn this off. Empty file if no track is playing, you can leave it on. Basically, enable hotkeys. Well, there's not actually an option for hotkeys, but then again, I left it on. So yeah, let's try out. I'll go to the my Twitch overlay screen. Don't mind the imagery here. So this is basically my Twitch setup, and over here you can see a bar. Basically, that's what I use for the overlay from Snip to work, basically. And if I would go to my my secondary screen, let me change this for a second. There you go. You can basically see here I have the web Spotify open as well. I will get into that later in a few seconds. So over here you can see I have my Spotify open. So let's play a certain song. I'll mute the audio just in case, because copyrights and stuff like that. So turning off the music in Spotify or OBS actually. All right, so let's go straight out here, and as you can see here on screen at the up right corner over here, it actually tells you which song is playing. and the image that goes with that. So the version 6.10.1 actually works quite nicely, as you can see here. And the song that is playing over here, it actually is identical to the Spotify information. Because with the 6.9.5 version, it didn't work after I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I did some digging and I came across this version, and I must say it works quite nicely. If you start up the program Snip, first start up Snip with the administration rights, and then open Spotify. If you do it the other way around, like open up Spotify and then open Snip, it could work, but it's more efficient to open Snip first and then Spotify, so it gets put through there quite nicely. All right, so as you can see here, Snip 10.6.10.1 actually works. It's on this GitHub website here. Let me mute the Spotify for a second here. So as you can see here, this is the link, the website with all the latest releases. I'll put that in the description. And due to the fact that Snip 6.9.5 stopped to work, actually yesterday, I did some digging basically, and I came across the Spotify web player. So we can basically close this up here. So as you can see here, I will show it to you. Let me go to the screen there. All right, let me change up my screen here so you guys can see what I'm doing in OBS. So over here, this is what I normally use, the Spotify overlay. That's basically for Snip. And last night I did some digging. I did some stuff to get the information from the Spotify web player into OBS, and of course it works quite nicely. Although if you're having as I'm doing right now, mostly streaming and playing a game, for instance, on the same computer. And I must say my computer is quite powerful, but then again, it's not one of the reasons computers. But then again, um, I have like two monitors, as you can see here. I'll show it to you. They're both in 1920 times 1080p. So that's the resolution I use for both of my screens. So as like I said, if you don't have a real powerful computer, opening up the Spotify web app, as I would like to say, and if you are streaming through OBS and playing a game, Firefox mostly requires a lot of memory. I'm not sure if it is a little bit lesser if you would be using like Google Chrome or something, but I would suggest using the Spotify app itself. If that does not work with Snip, you have an alternative using the web player through Firefox or Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome or whatever browser you are using, unless I hope it uses not too much of memory. All right, so let's go into the web variant alternative in this case. So I'll change my screen here for a second again to my secondary monitor, and I'll give you the details about the web application here. So if you, as you can see here, I didn't put the screen on full screen. I could actually full screen this because it's usable. But then again, I put it to this resolution or this greenery, as to say it like that. Because this is my secondary monitor where I mostly have my OBS over here and all the other programs running, and on my main monitor I play a game. So that's why I set this on this size of the screen. It's on, like I said, 1920 times 1080. A little downside though, because you see it's not fully around the edges of the screen. That's basically well, you can actually put it to the edges, but when you close the Firefox and reopen it again, it puts it like this on the screen. So you can choose to go full screen if you have like a most powerful computer. If you don't, you can set it like this. You can have a little bit of indication what song is playing, where you can scroll down, stuff like that. So I kept it like this, and the most recent I'm actually fond of using the web app variant of Spotify is if you have like a long song name, in this case, like for instance this one over here, it actually changes quite nicely. If you do it in Spotify itself, it will not show you the whole song there. So that's why, for instance, let me pop up the same song there. Let's see if I can do that. All right, you know what? Let's use this one here. All right, as you can see here, this is what it does. Like, you can see the song name over here, and this is actually a nice feature in Spotify itself. I'm not sure why it doesn't scroll all of the time or after a few seconds, but when you hover over it, it scrolls. That's quite nice. But when you don't, it stops scrolling. So that's why I actually like to use the web application of Spotify itself. So now let's try to get it to stop scrolling. There you go. So as you see, it takes off a little bit of the title, the song title. So that's why I actually use the web app to get the whole song title in the screen or in my stream, basically. Downside to it though, you cannot like separate that information from artist and song title, so you have to combine it in your streaming screen, basically. So the way I've done it is basically like this. I can actually pop it up over here. Alright, so let me close up Spotify for a second, and I can show you on the screen here. That's basically these two over here. So if I would like to open these up, you can basically see it works quite nicely. And I did a scrolling in it, so if you like the information to scroll, that's no problem at all. The plus sign though, it will keep it on there, no problem whatsoever. But if I play this song, I muted the audio as well for copyright reasons, of course. But as you can see here, the information pops up quite nicely. If I were to change to another song, no problem whatsoever. So that's basically how it works. It's basically the same way as Snip. I must say it works a little bit faster of refreshing that information into OBS. But like I said, if you would be using this option here with the web app, be sure to have like a powerful enough computer, because it takes a lot of memory. Depending on the browser you're using. So that's a good alternative if Snip itself would not be working with, for instance, the let's see here, with your media player. All right, so let me change this up to this over here. So like I said, I'm using Snip mostly in this case. And I'm actually working on Snip 6.10.1. So it depends on which player you're using. I'm not sure if it also works with iTunes or VLC, or if, for instance, iTunes has a web player. I'm not sure if it does, because I never use iTunes. Although you can use other web player configurations to get the same information into OBS if you're not using Snip, for instance. It's quite easy though. Just open up the web browser. For instance, in my case, it's Spotify. Let me change to my secondary screen for a second here. As you can see, so I'm using Spotify basically, and I can show you the setup I've done with the bar. That's how my setup is over here. So basically it's quite easy to do. When we go to properties, don't look at this though so far. So what you would like to do is, let me see here. It's a Windows capture basically. When you apply a Windows capture, go to Spotify and then set it like this. Firefox, that's what I'm using right now. And in this case, match title. Otherwise, find window or same executable. You can leave it on that. Same goes for because this is not one bar basically. It's two. One is, well, it's basically of the same Windows captures, but I did like one for the song title and artist, and one for the image from the album, basically. So that's what you can see over here. It's not really nice looking right now, but then again, never mind that. What can I tell a little bit more? Aside from the assigning the screenery, what you can do to get the information, for instance, scrolling, it's not really hard to do. Just put in a scroll, and you can basically, put it where you would like to do it, left or right, or you can evenly do it like vertical. Let me put it on 38 again. There you go. Alright, that's good. You can do a sharpening, of course, aspect ratio. I set it to Lancos and 1:1. That's probably the best scaling you can get for the screen using the Spotify web application. And to get it like this, it's probably the best way to do it. It's on the left side crop with these digits over here. Well, it of course depends what resolution you're using on your Spotify web app. For instance, if I full screen this, you see here the whole screen goes like this over here. So basically, if I put it back to the original size, it's no problem there. So basically, if you're actually using your web app on full screen, of course you have to adjust the cropping in the imagery at least, as you can see here. So then you go to filter, and then you go to crop, and from the top, what you do is you probably put a one in front of it, whatever. So you have to work a little bit around that, so to get the information at the exact location you want it to be. So yeah, in this case, there's like 2 ways to get your information from, in this case, Spotify or any web player into OBS. And yeah, that's it's actually working quite nicely. If you're using Snip with iTunes or with in this case Spotify, be sure to get the latest one over here. I'll put that one in the description underneath this video. The latest version right now is 6.10.1. If you're using any type of web player such as SoundCloud or as I'm using mostly, it depends if Snip is not working. I'm using Spotify, but it also works with nightbot playlist, whatever. If iTunes has a web player, I'm not sure if it does, but if it does, it should be working with the Windows capture option, like so. Or for instance, Winamp, if you're still using Winamp, just do a Windows capture, and that's basically it. So yeah, I hope this video helps you out, guys. I will put all the information down in the description. And if you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you like on all future tutorials with OBS or stuff like this, or regarding information about this, or about other games. Like I said, I hope it helps you out. If not, no problems there. And thank you all for watching, and see you all guys all the next time.